Hi class, I want to go over this APA Word document to help you all out as you begin learning how to write academically using APA formatting, all that stuff that you may have never heard of it before, but now you're going to be required to do. So, I have the APA 7th edition APA writing example pulled up. As you can see right here, I have reordered the news items listed in your class. So now it reads as number 1 when you open your, or it should when you open your D2L shell up. And the date published was September 11th. And you can see this example attached here at the bottom of that news feed. All right, so this is this document. As you will notice, the formatting has been done for you. It automatically has page numbers, which are required. The difference between 6th edition and 7th edition is there's no running head. It's not required in 7th edition. The title page is pretty much the same. You see the double gap right here. That's supposed to be there, so don't widen it. Leave it as it is. All right, when you download it as your 7th edition APA template. All right, and then when you open it up to begin writing your assignments, then once you get ready to save, instead of just hit save, put save as, put the correct title that's required per your assignment, and then save it like that. That way then you can upload it to the correct Dropbox in D2L. Alright, and another thing, when you're writing papers for classes, I would highly encourage you to create folders on your desktop for your class. For example, this class is Success at MacU, UNIV 1123. I would suggest you make a folder on your desktop and with that folder name and house all of your written documents in that. That will also help keep you organized. You can also create another master folder, say fall of 2022. And you can put all of your fall classes into that folder, which would be easy then to find on your desktop, wherever you save your information to. Okay? If you're using OneNote, I suggest that you limit, it's a good for a backup as an extra place to save, but you shouldn't be the exclusive place to save documents on OneNote. OneNote can be tricky. I personally don't like OneNote. I don't use OneNote. If you're once you're not a student and you have to pay for this Microsoft 365, you lose all of that. So one biggest reason to not use OneNote in some ways is because it's not really a reliable place to keep your documents, and so use your desktop. And I would also suggest as a backup, because computers do fail, computers do crash, for example, would be to email it to yourself somewhere. All right, you can pull up emails anywhere, and if you have that email with that attachment, you'll be able to find it and to recreate that document. Okay, that was a little tip and trick that I learned from a professor many years ago, and in a fail-safe, because you can bring up your emails from any computer, right? And so even from your phone, you can save it from your phone. Most phones are like little mini computers and house a file section within your computer that you can save things to. You might want to create an email just for class. That way it's not being used to you get millions of emails from merchandisers and companies every single day that just floods and locks up emails with crap and information. So you might want to create an email that you can email your documents to for school. That way, that's the only thing that email is being used for, and that's a simple Gmail. Create a new Gmail and go from there. All right, and you could also use your D2L email for that as well, and that way it's resend them to yourself through D2L. That way you'll have it, and then you can download it and then upload to your Dropbox. All right, just tips and tricks there to help you. Okay, so let's get back to this document here. So when you get ready to do your paper, you just highlight and fill your information in. That's all you need to do. All right, on the full example, it shows an abstract. You don't need an abstract. Cannot think of a class at Mackey that you need an abstract. There may be one, there may not be one, I don't know. But if you do, you can always insert one in page 2 and then skip to page 3 to begin writing your document. But for the most part, through your gen eds, I can tell you for a fact there's no abstract needed anywhere. And so this is a writing example, and it's meant to be an example to show you basically how to set up your document and, you know, the timeline. And so I wrote this little thing, traveling to France. It's based on an assignment that's going to be in the future for this class. And so just kind of giving you an outline of what each paragraph needs, and also you'll see examples of direct quotes, in-text citations, and then reference pages. All right, so as well as thesis statement. And a thesis statement is just really simply, it's the main topic of your paper. Here it says example thesis statement. Underlined words are showing you the main topic, the connection to the topic, which is winning the lottery would create the means to travel to France and reasons to travel for France. All right, and so this is basically just an introduction paragraph. All right, and so as my thesis statement that I wrote here, if I won the lottery, I could travel anywhere in the world, or if I win the lottery and could travel anywhere in the world, I would travel to France because I love French food. So French food, I want to see Paris, and I would like to become more fluent in speaking French. All right, and so each of these underlined words here, you see I have 3 statements. I love French food, I want to see Paris, and I want to learn French, how to speak French. All right, and so winning the lottery and traveling to France, these are the 3 main things that I'm going to write about in my paper. And you can see here, those 3 things are then highlighted in bold as what's called a section header or a paragraph header. All right, and that simply lets the person reading your paper know that I have French foods in France, that this paragraph is going to be about French foods in France. All right, and so here you will begin describing some of the foods that you want to experience and possibly the restaurants you would like to dine in. And so again, this is an overview of what you would write within this paragraph, not what, exactly what you would write. It's an overview, examples of what you would describe, how you would write. Okay, so you could describe how the French experience their foods or their culture of their dining experiences in France. You could also compare the differences of the French diet to a specific region compared to American diets, a compare and contrast between the two. So I give an example here. For example, Americans love a good buffet line with many choices to fill their plates, which engages in overeating. Alright, so in comparison to the French, their meals consist of smaller portions of meat, vegetables, cheese, and bread. And the French believe in the motto, everything in moderation. Alright, and you can kind of go on from there in this paragraph to further explain, buffet lines, or the differences in how the French eat versus how Americans eat, or just simply, give a little bit more explanation, everything in moderation, and what the smaller plates, and usually there's courses in meals. In America, we don't really have restaurants that have several courses. Those are really like Michelin star type restaurants that have courses. All right, and I can tell you in Oklahoma here especially, there was one restaurant that was doing that, and other than that, I don't know. There are very, very few that actually that you can go to and experience different courses within your meal. All right, so let's go on to the next. So visiting Paris. So visiting Paris has been a dream of mine because of all the museums, the culture, and the architecture. One of the museums that has been on my bucket list to see is the Louvre. So currently the galleries range from the galleries, meaning at the Louvre, that probably should be a little clarified, but currently the galleries range from Greek antiquities to the arts of Africa, Asia, and Oceania, and the Americas. All right, I got that from the Louvre website, so that's me paraphrasing what the website, the Louvre 2022. This sentence here is me paraphrasing that content from the website. Okay, so from ancient to Renaissance art, viewing the masterpieces on display at the Louvre would be a day well spent. The culture of France has always been another interest. As a social historian, family values, including equality and unity, are very important to the French. Beauty and style and everything is another cultural trend. That's me again paraphrasing this sentence to this website. And you see where I paraphrase it, right? I paraphrase this and I go on again with my own words. With the French, and as a photographer, aesthetics is important when framing work. From the Eiffel Tower to the Gothic-style architecture of the Notre Dame de Reims Cathedral, there are many places for a photographer to be lost in the beauty, France has to offer. Okay, so you can see how, how I cite, as I do in-text citations, when I'm paraphrasing content from websites. And then everything else, again, is what I'm referring to of what things that I want to photograph if I go there, right? And so the next paragraph is going to be learning to speak French. And so in preparing to travel to France, I began taking self-paced classes so that I can learn, so I can at least try to read signs and menus and be able to at least order or ask for directions in French. However, once I began the Mango Languages French series, I found myself immersed in wanting to learn more and more. That I enrolled at a local community college to learn to read and write as well as speak French, and the hard work paid off. Although not fluent, I learned enough to be able to make my way through the beautiful country and not have to worry about seeking bilingual places. Alright, and so that's why, I wanted to learn to speak French. Of course, this is overview. It really hasn't happened yet, but again, if I was to do this, this is what I would do, because that's just the way I am. And always write a conclusion where you wrap up everything. You usually restate your thesis statement in your conclusion, and then kind of wrap up. You can put kind of personal notes in here if you wanted to, and so that's up to you. And you can see here the references that were used within the paper are going to be listed here. And so Ash, Ensign, and Louvre. Alright, and then here are other examples of how to format sources in APA, 7th edition APA. When you get ready to do your assignment, when you hit Save As, be sure all this extra stuff is deleted from your document. This is also a little infograph right here. It gives you information to look at when you're missing things. So creating API citations with missing information. So, if you're just citing a source that's missing nothing, it gives you the author, the date, the title, and the source. And so this also gives you a reference of how you should cite that. If you're missing an author, you just put the title, the date, and the source, and list it as you can see here, this reference. Alright. You notice another thing, retrieve from is no longer in the verbiage of when you list a reference page. That's 6th edition APA, not 7th edition APA. So retrieve from is no longer needed before you list the URL site. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You don't need it anyway, so don't go looking for it. Alright, so again, use these little infographics in the information listed on this these reference page to help you understand. Now, for websites, you can pretty much use these three as your standard 7th edition guidelines for websites. Alright, really you don't, technically you don't really kind of need this insider right here, because that's the name of the web page. It's listed in the URL link. If you're listing like EDU websites, government websites, you would use this italicized name here. When you're doing YouTube videos, you want to make sure that whoever posted the YouTube videos is going to be the author. You'll list them as the author. Then you would list the date it was uploaded to YouTube. Then you would list the title of the YouTube video. And then right after the title of the YouTube video, you would put in brackets, and I'm going to just put that right here. You're going to put in brackets such as this, but not italicized. Brackets, YouTube. And then you're also going to put video file. And then scroll over. And so you see here it kind of changed my formatting. And so to simply put your cursor at the second line and hit your Control Tab keys, and it will move that one line over to give you a perfect hanging indentation. If you need to do it yourself, you can see here, if you have the ruler engaged in your Word document, you can see here everything is 1-inch margin, so you see a 1-inch margin, okay, where it begins. And you can see here this little tab here, and so if need be, you can always move, and not that one. Let's see here, maybe it's the top one. Not that one, another one here. You can move that over right there to that little half mark, and then that would be also, I guess you move the whole thing over, that would be your tabs for your second line. But this document's already done for you, so you don't need to do that. Okay? But, you know, if you change things like that, then you'll just have to hit the Control Tab key and it will go over. Alright, and that's really kind of a good explanation about APA as far as that goes. You can see here, here if you have names, if like here Ash, notice the S is not put in the in-text citation, and just the 2018. Alright, go here at the top, Ash 2018. If this was your textbook, or if this was an article that had page numbers, then you would list the page number after the publication date. Alright, like page 22 or chapter 17, whatever it may be. Okay, and that way it lets the person know that that's where you got the information at in the chapter used. You never list the chapters in your reference page, always in the in-text citation. Alright, so I hope this brief overview, you find it useful, and you know, you can watch it over and over and over again if you need be, and to help you begin just to figure out this thing called APA. Alright, if you have questions, continue to email me, send me text messages of course, and I will respond as soon as I can. Alright, also one more thing too, when you're doing APA and you're updating your APA stuff, you have this little editor key here now, which is great. And if you don't use Grammarly.com, download that. The editor key is the next best thing to help you as you're writing your papers. And so if you engage that editor, it gives you an editor score, it gives you spelling issues, possibly grammar issues, conciseness, punctuation conventions, other document stats and stuff. And so all you need to do is kind of click on that, and it's telling me that's spelled wrong, which again, it's an example and last name, and so obviously I'm not going to worry about it. But anytime you have a little squiggly in your paper, in your Word document, that means something is either spelled wrong, whatever. Suggestions, it should be 2 separate words. It is not. That's okay. Whatever. You can hit ignore and go on, or hit ignore all and go from there. Grammar here, as you can see, it will give you double check that you're sticking to singular or plural. And so, and again, you have to read the sentence how you wrote it to make sure that that is how you want it to read. So beauty and style in everything is another cultural trend. I wouldn't want our another culture, and so, because I'm not referring to beauty and style in itself, it's just as is. I'm not referring to it in singular or plural. It's just a simple word, so I'm not going to change that to plural. I want it left as singular. Okay, but since there's 2, you could. So either way, again, I'm not going to really worry too much about it. Again, here in the blue, you can go here, menus. It's not menus with apostrophe. and so it gives you thing, as well as go from there. It kind of gives you, again, resume checking, go through all this, but that's going to go into the reference side, and you don't need to do all that. Alright, so I'm going to just hit back and see my score improves, blah blah blah. I'm not going to worry about all this stuff, and that's not, again, something I'm not going to worry about. Alright, so look for that little editor button. You may have to enable it if it's not enabled. You can do that by going to Word, Preferences, and then you can, I have a Mac, so mine will look different than yours if you don't have a Mac, and I'm trying to figure out exactly where that is. Authoring and proofing. That's right. It's somewhere in there. Maybe it's services. Preference and services. And it might be in there somewhere. I can't remember. Unfortunately. And you can dictate text if you're tired of typing. Looky here, right? My Mac, once you enable your microphone and all that, you can actually dictate text into your Word document. Of course, depending on your accent and your type of speech, you may have to go and make a bunch of corrections, but with practice, and as the speech recognizes your dialect more and more, it'll be there. And so you'll have to learn how to actually dictate punctuation and things like that, and so that way it won't spell it out. It'll actually put like a comma or a period in your document and stuff. So there are all kinds of ways to do things. So if you don't have it, download the apps, as they are very beneficial. Alright, so make sure that your word count too is actually the word count within your document. The title page and your reference page does not count towards your word count. If you have large text over 40 words, those also do not count towards your word count. Your word count is meant to be your word count, not an author's word count, adding to your paper in large amounts of text. Alright, so MacU does use Turnitin.com, which is an originality checker. That checks for works used within your paper from sources. And so, again, if you're direct quoting from a source, you have to make sure you have quotation marks around that sentence or sentences, because you need to separate your words from the author's words. That way the reader, your instructor, can tell the differences. As you see here, I have everything in moderation. Alright, so with that too, but I started with meat, vegetables, cheese, and bread. Again, that's direct quote from the source. In other places, I have paraphrased content. As you see here currently, the galleries range from Greek antiquities to the arts of Africa, Asia, Oceania, and the Americas, which is paraphrased, but I still have to cite the source because I read it in that source. I'm paraphrasing it in my own words for the most part, but it doesn't matter. It's not my own words. It's still words that I read and information that I read that I'm putting in my own words for the purpose of the paper. Make sense? Hopefully. So if it's still clear as mud, or getting clearer than mud, again, if you can join our class on Thursday nights via Zoom, or if you're here locally and can come to class, please do. We are in room 112 in Kennedy Hall, and I would be more than happy to welcome you in the class as we go over many things these next 4 weeks. Alright, so you all take care, and I hope this video helps a lot. Thank you.